see, music's off. A lot of people checked out my video on how to make a silicone brush, and unfortunately I forgot to turn the music off, so we're not having that problem today. Okay, so what we're going to do is to go back and revisit and basically redo the video without any music on how to make a silicone brush with Tinkercad. Yeah, no music, just you, me, Tinkercad, and making the thing that we're going to make. So with that, let's go ahead and jump right into it. Here we are in Tinkercad, and if you don't know what Tinkercad is, basically it's a CAD program, but it's very dumbed down. So for people like me, that's kind of a good thing. You can also do a number of other things. You can do some circuit boards. You can do 3D design. You can get some pretty ornate type of stuff that you can do on here. Circuits, code blocks. I mean, some of the stuff that people do on here just blows my mind. So not that that's hard to do, but let's just go ahead and we'll get on to Tinker This, our Creality silicone brush frame or brush holder. And basically what we're talking about is a little holder here. The Creality K2 Plus comes with a little silicone brush, so when the hot end, the nozzle gets brushed across this little silicone bristles, and way back in the day they used to be made of brass, and you would clean the nozzle with brass. Now we use silicone, and it's a consumable item. And so what we want to do is we want to make something like this here. And this is the one that I made, but we're going to remake this and just show you how easy it is to do. So yeah, it's and with the simple shapes, even somebody as simple as me can figure this out. So what we're going to end up doing is we'll set that off to the side, and we'll come up here and show you how we're going to do it. Okay, the first thing we want to end up doing is we want to see how long our brush needs to be. And if you take something just like a pen or a pencil, and then you figure, you could have a little brush end, basically you could measure this all the way across. And of course I don't have a, figure about 4 inches. So maybe 100 millimeters, somewhere around there, to whatever length that you desire, you can do that. So we're going to start off here with clicking over here on the right hand side by cylinder. We'll click that, and then boom, there we go. There's our cylinder. That's too easy. Now, as I mentioned in previous videos with Tinkercad, there's a number of ways that you could make this bigger, smaller, whatever it is. So if we click on the white corners, we can see some numbers pop up. There's 20 by 20, and this is set by millimeters that we see in this bottom right. And you could change those settings anywhere from 0.1 to 5 millimeters. The default is 1 millimeter. So what you could end up doing, let's say I wanted to make this 10. I could click and enter that in, and this one remains at 20. And then this white square here, if we click that, that will show the z-axis or the height. Now, if we want to, we can raise and lower this just by clicking and holding onto that white square. And we could draw this out, and it's pretty much just freeform, which is kind of cool. But if I wanted to keep all of the dimensions the same and just increase it in size, I hold down the Shift key, and there we get a uniform scaling of the X, Y, and Z axes. And so, left, right, up, down, all, whatever those axes are. So we've got that there. So what we want to end up doing now is we want to go over and we want to say, okay, well, our little brush that we have, we want to make it, let's just say 85 millimeters, and we want it to be, I don't know, let's take 6. And if you need to pull out some things, so 6, and you can hit enter. I could also click down here, and I could do 6 there and hit enter. Or again, what I could end up doing is kind of scaling this and take it whatever size that I want, and I could elongate it. So we're going to end up taking this, and we'll leave it at 6. And what we want to do is we want to have it kind of a little bit, not like a round pen, but we want to give it a little bit of a little bit of flatness in there. So let's take this down to, I don't know, maybe we'll draw this out. If I click on, here's something else I want to show you. You notice you got these black squares. Well, if I click and hold on the black square, what I could end up doing is moving it in that direction, and it'll leave all the other axes in place. So in other words, it won't be freeform. So it'll just go, left and right. That will just go left and right. And if I do this one, it could go front and back. We'll just do Control Z, and the same thing here. So we could keep the measurements on the other axes, but we could just move that one part in that direction. So that turns out kind of good. So what we'll end up doing here, let's double check, and we're doing, let's say we want that 6, and how do we want this? We could make this about 8. Let's make that about 8. So that way we get a little bit of a, as we zoom in here, we got a little bit of a circular oval shape. Maybe we could take it to, no, we don't want that. Let's go back, and we will go to, I don't know. Now let's just leave it at, let's leave it at 8. So that way we've got a depth of 6, we've got the width is 8, and of course the height is going to be 85. So with that, I think we're good to go on that. Now the next thing that we need to do is, I think what we'll end up doing, let's rotate this so that way it's on, we'll put it onto the surface. So we're going to go up here, and we're going to grab this, and we can go down, and if we stay within this blue circle here or below, it'll go in those increments. If we go outside of those, then I'm freeform, and I can move it to however many degrees I want. So, and actually it'll come up, so you can see the degree sign right up there. So we got 2, 5, 10, 11. So in other words, we could do something like that. But if we just want to put it on its side, we just drag it 90 degrees, and I think we are good to go. Another way that we can play with this thing is that if we want to move this entire thing up or down, that's what this little arrow is for. So with this arrow, I can grab this and I can move it along the Z height up or down. So I can go below the build plate or the work plane, or I can go above, and again, you'll get a numerical representation of how many millimeters it is above the work plane, off in that little right-hand side that we see there. So let's say if I wanted to do that 10, it'll drop that down to 10 millimeters above the work plane. So it works out kind of good. If I want to put this onto the build or the work plane itself, I can kind of go through, and then I can kind of do this, and then, I might have a little bit down below, and it's like, okay, well, I need to adjust this more. I need to go this, or whatever. Now, there's an easier way to do this, and what you can end up doing is just selecting your item, take this finger or any other finger, and hit the D key, delta, and it'll plant that down on the work plane. So now that that's settled on the work plane, we're going to work on our next little piece that is actually going to be cut out, and we'll join that to our little handle here, and we'll do the inset for our silicone brush, and everything will be pretty cool. So with that, let's go ahead and we'll do another circle. So we'll click on that, and let's just make this a different shape, color, different color. And there's a few things that you can end up doing here. We have the number of sides. So if we zoom in, you can see the sections of the circle. And there's 48 sections right now. So if you went around, it's not a perfect circle. It's actually 48 different sections that make up that circle. And if I go down, I can decrease it to the point of where it's 12. So we have like 12 sides, as you see there. But if I increase the sides, I can go all the way up to 128, and that's going to give me, probably the best cylinder that I can get. So we're just going to go ahead and leave that there. The beveling, what you can end up doing is you can see with the beveling, we don't really need to play with that. I mean, we could make it look kind of cool. Let's just make it We could click on the number here. Let's just make it 1.5 just for grins and giggles. And then the number of segments, what you can end up seeing is you could add segments as we see in the top here. And it's set to 1 currently as the default. And if we can add different segments, so you can see all the different segments, and if we go all the way up, we get 10, and so it gives us kind of a round filleted type of shape. So it's kind of up to you on what you want to do. So let's just crank it up to 10, and we'll just leave it at that. So now what we want to end up doing is we want to take this and we want to squish it down. So we're going to grab this little black square here, and what we can do is we can either drag this down. I think we'll drag it down to, what was this one, 6? I think the height was 6 is what it was. What was the height of that? Yep, the height was 6. And so what we'll end up doing with this is we can click on this and we will make this 6 as well. And so that kind of squished it down. And now that we have that, what we can end up doing is taking our little tool here, put it down onto its side, and you know what, let's go ahead and rotate this around like so. And remember how we got this down onto the work plane? What button did we have to press? The D key. Yep, D for down. And we've done that right there. So now we've got the 2 main components of our silicone brush. Now the thing that we're going to do next is we're going to do a cutout so that our little silicone pad with the little silicone bristles can be inset into that brush head. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to go over here and we're going to take a square. And you could either do the square, or we'll just hit delete. We can go over here to where it says box, and it's kind of a zebra colored box. Well, that zebra colored box is actually going to be a hole. So in other words, if I pull this over here, what happens is that is where a hole will be. So for example, let's say this is what I wanted to do. I would select the hole or the box here, and I would also hit shift and select the item. So both of those are selected. Or another thing that we could end up doing is just left click and drag, and we get this box. And anything that's touching within that red dotted line box will be selected. So let's say that's where I wanted the hole to be on this piece. Then I can go up to the top here where it says group. And if I hit group, it's going to go through and boom, there is the piece. So now the piece that I have, I could make custom pieces for this by using different shapes and make them whole. Let's go ahead and get away from this, and I'll show you another way we could end up doing it. Get you a free lesson going on here. Let's say I wanted to, I don't know, let's just say we're going to do another circle, and we'll just bring this down to, I don't know, we'll make it 4, and we want to put a couple of holes in this for some reason. So we're going to select that. Let's see if we can get it in a little bit better zoom. And let's say we want to do 2 of them for whatever reason. We want 2 holes in the head of this thing. I can go up to the top left where it says duplicate and repeat. There I hit it. And if I go ahead and hit my arrow keys, what I could end up doing is moving it in 1 millimeter increments at a time. If I end up doing that and I hold the shift down, then it will go in like 5 increments, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, 10. I was wrong. So anyway, there's a number of ways that we could end up doing this, or I could do it freehand. But let's say this is where I want my 2 holes. And just to make sure, we can see that on the bottom, we've got our holes, but I want to make sure that they're really going through. So what I could end up doing is clicking on this, and we could just drop it below that work plane area, and we could do the same thing on this one. We could drag that down, and you might be saying, Steve, but these are shapes. These are not holes. Okay, pay attention. So we're going to go over here, back over here to where we have our cylinder, and it says hole. Well, if I click hole, boom, it makes whatever shape that is a hole. So let's click that one, and we'll make that a hole. And what we could end up doing is selecting both of these and the main part itself. We'll hit Group or Control G, and there we have our part with the two holes. So another thing we could end up doing, let's say we want to, let's take this little piece here, and we'll rotate this around, and we'll rotate this around, and we'll bring it like that. And we want to bring this in like this. And I want to make that a hole, so we'll drop this down just a little bit. Now I can select both of these, and oops, I got to make that a hole too. Make that a hole first, and then I can select both of these. Almost got me. And then we'll hit the group or the Control G, and it'll go through, and boom, there it is. We got a little smiley holy face, a holy smile. Is that cheesy or what? So what we'll do is we'll back out of this, and we'll just hit Control Z to get rid of these, to get back to what we were doing, and left with our original plan. So now what we ended up doing is I took some calipers, and with that I measured out the dimensions of that little silicone brush pad that goes in the Creality K2 Plus, the thing that cleans the nozzle. We're going to take that, and I've got the dimensions of that, so we're going to go back, and we're going to go back here, and we're going to grab a square. We'll put it here, and we're going to make this a different color just because. We'll make that a light brown. Now I took some measurements, and the measurements for that silicone pad, and I gave it a little bit of leeway, I think like 0.1 or whatever it was. What we can end up doing is this was, what was it, 17.2, and this was 12, and it ended up, it was a total of 2.25? Yeah, it was 2.25. So that is the size of our hole. That's going to be the area that is going to be the hole for this here. So we're going to go ahead and we'll drag this over. We'll just kind of bring this up for grins and giggles, and we can take a look at this, and now we can fine tune our red part. No, I don't want to do that. I just want to click that. And what we can end up doing if we wanted to make some adjustments to this is let's pull this down a little bit because we want it to have some strength. And we could try to, you could try to eyeball it, but what I found that works better, like say instead of eyeballing it because I can never get it right, let's just go ahead, left click and drag, and we'll select both of those. And if we go up to this top right, we've got a line. So we're going to go ahead and hit a line, and if we click the red part, now what we can end up doing is we can align this according to these positions here. So since we want this perfectly centered, and you can see how it ends up, how it will give you a little representation of where it's going to be lined up. So we want it in the center of that and the center of that, and we are perfectly centered on that. Left, right, up and down, so everything is good to go. But let's say I want to move it up a little bit, I don't know, maybe, I think we're good. But let's go ahead and we'll make this not the whole thing a hole. I don't want the whole thing a hole. We'll just click this, and we'll make that a hole. And we can see that what that will end up doing is indeed creating a hole. And what I want to end up doing is we'll just drop this down just one little bit more. Maybe we need to go down here to the bottom right to our settings, and we'll go to 0.5, so we'll go down a half. Not quite. Maybe 0.25. So it's just clearing. Look at that. Look at that. That is just clearing that. I'm like doing all kinds of... In case you get lost, if you go up here to the top left, you can see this box here, and we can go to the back. We can go kind of a 3/4 view, the top, and we can get back to, you know, where we should be in case you do something stupid like I just did, like kind of go all over the place. Okay, so back to where we're at. We'll zoom in here, and we can see that this is going to be good. So what we'll end up doing is we will select both of these. And again, you could either left click and drag to get both of those, or I could just end up clicking the red part, clicking the whole. Those will both be selected by holding the shift, and we'll do group. And through the magic of computers, what it's going to end up doing is, boom, there it is. There is the receptacle of where we can put our little silicone pad. And to join this up, then what we can end up doing is selecting this, and we'll just kind of do this. And we'll select this, and we'll do a line. And if we click the red, then we can see that that will be centered on the center there, and we don't really care this much about, having it being centered like that. So we'll just leave it like that, and we can see that will turn out pretty good. So now we'll just select everything, and then we'll hit group, and the next thing you know, we will have our brush. It's going to take a little bit, and the more actions that you do, so the more cutting, the more holes, the more slicing and doing the little Boolean things of stuff like that, it's going to take up some more computing time, and this is all done online. So the more stuff you do, sometimes it'll be a little slow is what we're seeing here. And come on, let's go. Let's see if we can hurry this along. Yeah, it's still taking its time. But basically, that's how you can make your silicone brush. And if we take a look at our silicone brush here, and what we'll end up doing is we'll just drop this down, hit the D key, and we have got almost a picture-perfect example of our brush. And see how long it took to do that? For some reason, sometimes it doesn't take long, other times it does. But when I've made items like my 66 unit paint holder that I made with 66 of these, yeah, it took a lot of time to combine and do all that stuff. So just be aware of that. And this isn't truly a CAD program. It really isn't. It's just basic shapes, as you can see here. And when you print this out, you can still see how we have the sides on this, on our cylinder, our flattened cylinder to some degree. So yeah, you'll always get something. It's not going to be pristine. I guess there's other ways that you can do it, but really this is just going to be the brush holder for the little silicone brush thing. And boom, now what we can end up doing is actually selecting this. And if we go over here to the top right, we have import. So you could import, I think, what can you import on here? STLs, OBJ, and SVGs, file size up to 25 meg. So you can do that. But what we want to do is to export it. And we can do the same thing. It also has send to people and apps. So picture of your design, we could download that. We could send it to Autodesk Fusion, Google Drive, 3D Communities, Printables, My Mini Factory, these here. Share over instant messaging or email. So that's kind of a good thing to know. But we just want to go to export. And we're going to do STL, so we're going to hit that. And it's going to go through and prepare this model, and it instantly downloads. And what we end up seeing here is the file right there. So yeah, it prints out. You can import that into your 3D printing software. I have the Creality K2 Plus, so I use Creality Print. But it turns out that the brush came out pretty good. And actually, I want to show you this brush. So printed it out, and there is the brush. So yeah, turned out pretty good. And again, the size of it worked out well. If we get this to focus, you You can see we've got a little bit of how it's a little oval, and then we can see how that brush works. Now this is printed in PLA, so if you put and touch the plastic parts of this onto your hot nozzle, your hot end, when it's at temperature, yeah, you're probably going to get some marks on this. So you might want to print this out in some high temperature resistant filament like ASA or something like that. So me, I don't really care because this is just going to kind of brush the nozzle, and I'm not really worried about the handle itself. So it works out pretty good. As far as printing this out, I think what I ended up doing was pretty close to solid infill with this. So that way it's got some rigidity and it's harder to break. So this tool works really well. So for those of you who are wondering, and for the people that were complaining because I forgot to turn off the music on the previous video, I deeply apologize. I know how that was, and I'm old, I forgot. So anyway, that's the steps on how to make your little silicone brush holder. Just get a cheap little caliper, get some measurements of whatever it is that you're trying to make. And in this case, we did our little silicone brush holder. So that way I can clean the nozzle on my K2 Plus, and it is actually a good thing. Usually what I'll end up doing is preheating my bed and the nozzle, and then I just use this brush to get the little dingleberries off of there. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing, getting rid of the dingleberries. So anyway, if you got any concerns, questions, tips, tricks that you want to pass on to me, you can put them in the comments section down below. I try to get to those comments. Sometimes I don't because I'm getting a lot of comments, and I've got over 224,000 views. So it's really hard to keep up with just me. But if you absolutely need to get in touch with me, email me at this address, officialtheverylife@gmail.com, and I will answer. I have 100% answered every single person that has emailed me, even the crazy one. And we're all a little crazy, so that means we're family in some weird dysfunctional type of way. So with that, the only thing that I ask is that you like and subscribe to my channel. I would really appreciate that. And if you're like some of these people down here on the scrolling ticker, you can buy me a coffee. The link is in the description box. And you can be some of those awesome people, and I will have much respect for you. But you don't have to. Like and subscribe, that would be better. So anyway, that's just the little thing with Tinkercad, and doing more and more on that. Maybe I'll actually get to the point of where I'll actually look into getting some real training and maybe a real CAD program, but I'm a simple type guy. So, making something like the silicone brush, that's about my speed, and at least I'm starting at the bottom and I'm working my way up. So yeah, it is what it is. All right, with that being said, hopefully you will all have a good weekend, and we'll see you on the next video. Peace. Yeah, and let's close this out with a little bit of music, and we'll see you on the next one. Yeah.